Hey guys, I'm gonna make this video here to explain exactly what I did for the Revo single speed transmission. I've been running this transmission now for, I would say, a couple months. Haven't, ran into any issues. So I felt like this would be a good time to make a video. I basically tested it out, and now I'm pretty confident that anybody who does this will have no issue. Um, I have it all apart because I'm upgrading the center diff. The center diff on the stock Platinum Edition just comes with a diff cup and those two gears right there that are all oily, and then the output shafts, or the output gears, I don't know what you call them. But with the E-Revo and the E-Max, they have more robust diff cups, and the internals are also different. The internals would look like this right here. Hopefully the camera is going to be able to show it clearly. But you can see that you have the extra support here with the metal, so things won't flex as much. The cup also is thicker plastic, which is very nice. Internal is different because obviously it has to hold this. The other cup doesn't have that. It's just a straight line where the rod would go. So the plastic is what was holding all the pressure. Now what will be holding all the pressure is a combination of these two metal things, which is a very neat design. The center diff takes a big abuse. The Pico destroyed the first cup within, I would say, a quart. The 2.5, I've been running the 2.5. I would say I put, a good 2 gallons on 2.5s that I put in this thing throughout, the time that it's been running. So I would say 2 gallons on this transmission with the 2.5. And the gears still look very nice. So that's really nice. The diff cup did not break with the 2.5, so the 2.5 is obviously a little bit less power. However, it still unloaded the front end quite often. I'm thinking that with the extra parts in here, it's going to make the fluid or the silicone oil that I put in act thicker than what it is, because it's gonna have to go through more parts. So hopefully that's true, because the Pico obviously unloads the diff really easy, and I'm pretty much maxed out on the weight that I can put in the diff. I used the Gravity RC 2.5 million weight diff oil. They also have 1 million. 1 million didn't work out at all, so the 2.5 million is somewhat, drivable. Hopefully this will make it even better. So to get into the details of what I had to do to get this to work, first thing would be that you need to buy the Traxxas single speed conversion kit from the T-Max 2.5. So that's from the black transmission. I pulled it up here on Tower Hobbies. It looks like this. The part number from Traxxas is 5193X. So that's 5193X. The only thing you're going to be using from that kit would be this big gear right here. Okay? And also you're going to be using what you're going to be using is this big gear, and also going to be using a Revo rod. The rod that holds the 2-speed on the Revo, I believe, is what I cut here. Give me a second, I'll stop the video and I'll go look at my other parts and confirm that. Alright guys, I just checked my parts and it does not, this particular shaft does not come from the Revo parts. It actually is part of the kit. So what I did is I just shaved it off. So I made it smaller. I would say a 1/4 inch is how much I cut off. You can see here how much there is. And I guess if you guys, do it, you guys can compare where the hole is right here. See that hole, and see how much more I have from the hole. So that's how much I cut off. However, I cut a little bit too much off, so you could be a little bit further away from the hole and it will be fine. It's just not, using the entire space of the bearing. So basically there's a little bit of space on the outside of the bearing that it's not fully, I guess, covering. But that's not an issue. Everything is all tight with the shims and all of that, so that's no problem. But if you want to do it right, shave a little bit less than what I did. This is my first attempt, so I made a little mistake there, but it's not enough. But yeah, this particular shaft comes with the 1-speed already. So this shaft came from the T-Max 2.5 transmission. So that's that. And basically, to make it work and fit together, you just have to shim it all. I used these plastic nylon spacers. I went to Ace Hardware store, and they have all sorts of different sizes. Just buy a whole bunch so you don't have to go back. They're very cheap, so I bought a whole bunch just to make sure I was good. And at the end, you just have to fine tune it by those little tiny shims that you can get online. I think the Traxxas sells them. I don't know what the part number is on those, but they're just diff shims, I guess. They're plastic, or they're nylon, black nylon spacers or shims. Here, what I did, this is not anything regarding Traxxas. This gear right here, which is the idler gear that the spur gear screws onto, is a 15-tooth pinion gear. So this is more of an electric type gear. So you just buy any Mod 1 15-tooth gear made for electric engines, and you'll be set. Basically, you just want to get a Mod 1 15-tooth pinion gear for an engine, for electric engine, and that's no problem. Let me pull up what I purchased so you guys have an idea of what to look for. I'll be right back. Alright, so what I purchased was the Hot Racing 15-tooth Mod 1 pinion gear, and what's important is that it's 5 millimeters. So the diameter of this shaft right here is 5 millimeters. So make sure that your pinion gear that you purchase inside diameter is 5 meters, or 5 millimeters. I'm sorry. Hot Racing makes them, Techno makes them, all sorts of different companies make them. Hot Racing came out to about $9 for this piece. That's obviously metal, and then this is plastic. The plastic worn a little bit, but I'm surprised it didn't wear more than that. Back when I was on the 2-speed, it didn't take very long for my Pico to destroy that idler gear. So this will stay, this obviously is gonna not break. If anything, it'll be this gear, and they're only $8. The kit is only $8, so it's not too expensive to replace. Unfortunately, there's no metal replacements for this. So if you do decide to do this mod or run this transmission, I wouldn't recommend running anything more than a 0.21, because I did run the Pico on this. I probably ran a quart of fuel through my Pico, testing this transmission out to make sure it doesn't blow up, and it's fine. So the Pico .21 makes about 2.7 horsepower, and you know, most .21s don't make more than that. So this particular setup is perfect for somebody that wants to have a, you know, a top end type Revo for the track. I mean, the 2-speed is kind of useless, but with this and a good geared, you know, engine that has high RPMs, it'd be very useful. It would act just like a Truggy. Truggy just has, you know, center diff and a very high revving engine, and they do great. So this is kind of mimicking that for Revo. This goes for T-Max 3.3 transmissions as well. So any Revo style transmission, this particular how-to is gonna work. So it's all into shimming the, you know, the parts. It's going to take some time putting it together, taking it apart, making sure that the gears don't move, and there's a very tight fitment. But 15 tooth idler, T-Max 2.5 single gear, Revo forward only or center diff gear is going to work great. So that's, you know, that's the gist of this particular combo deal here. The only thing you have to do on the particular shaft for the idler gear is just to Dremel a flat spot, so you can just screw in that grub screw to make sure that nothing moves. That's what I did. I put some blue Loctite, and it has not moved at all, so that's no problem. You can see all the little washers I have here, and that, you know, particular nylon spacer. All these shims were also bought at Ace Hardware. So Ace Hardware has everything you need to get this working. There's really nothing else that I can explain here. This also, yeah, this is something that I should explain. This cup is not, it did not come out like this from the back. You do have to sand this down right here. You have to sand this down because the fitment with this gear and this gear is not perfect if this is not sanded down. So to basically come up with the extra loose, you have to shim the back. You put 2 shims in the back, and then, you know, that's going to be enough to push the forward only or the center diff forward enough to clear this gear and mesh right. So I'll put it in there for you guys to see. Alright guys, so I have this installed. I put the diff oil in here, and now I can show you guys how it's, you know, how it works internally. Change this. Okay, so this is how it is. You know, you guys can see it's just 3 gears like that. Everything meshes perfectly. Where I was going at here is this piece right here. Why you have to sand down the end piece of the diff. All right. So there's 2 shims in the back, and you can see everything is turning very smooth. I mean, obviously everything's gonna be more tight when everything's screwed in, but the reason why you have to shim this is because there's no space to add extra shims in the back. So you have to, you know, you have to basically give and take. So you're taking plastic away from the front to be able to push this whole mechanism forward. The reason you want to push this forward by, I would say, 2 millimeters or so is because of this gear right here. The gear right here, that smaller gear that connects to this gear. If you don't have any shims, it's going to put pressure. Let me try to take out these 2 shims and show you that those 2 gears will end up binding with each other. Alright, so if I don't put anything here, you're gonna see I can barely turn this. I mean, I can't turn it at all. It binds. Okay, the 2 gears, the 2 plastic gears touch each other. That one big gear right there in the back binds with this gear, and unfortunately you cannot have that happen, or else it's not going to run right. It would be even worse if you screw the cover on. Then everything would be nice and tight, and it would be a problem. Nothing would turn. So with these two shims, you are able to push the entire assembly forward just enough where it turns freely, and there's enough space where it does not touch that other gear. So this is how it is, and that's the reason why you have to shim, or you have to take off some plastic here, because you can't run it without any shim in the back. It's just not possible. So you have to put shims in the back, and you have to take away there so it works, so it fits in correctly. Alright, so then the other issue here, because you push this forward, this whole shaft went forward, this shaft obviously moved forward, and it kind of messes up with the brake assembly, because then there's a pin there, and this brake assembly goes in place like so. Let me stop the video and then come back to you guys. Alright, I'm back. So now I have this, I have the brake in there, so this is where I want to get to. Since we moved this whole assembly, this whole bottom piece, which is the front forward only conversion, or the center diff, moved forward, so that means we lost space in the back. Fortunately enough, the piece, I guess this would not be an issue if you had a front wheel forward only conversion, because there's no rear brake for that, so you guys don't have to pay attention to this if you guys don't want to. But for the guys with the center diff, this is very important. The fact that the pin is still covered by the star-shaped plastic thing is very good. If it didn't cover it, I have no clue what I would have done. Anyways, that's good. Everything pans out here. However, when you put the shaft back in, I don't know if you guys are running metal CVDs, good luck. But with the plastic ones, you can Dremel with no issue. This is what I had to do with the plastic. You have to Dremel. See how this is no longer stock? I mean, it looks ugly because this is all Dremeled. I had to Dremel, at least I would say I had to Dremel the amount that I took out, that I pushed forward. The reason why I had to Dremel is because of the pad right here. The center, the pad was binding with this, and I could not get the screw in there. I could not get the grub screw in there, so I had to Dremel all around enough to clear the brake pad, and so pushed in enough. So once this is screwed in, there's no way that you can lose that pin right there. That pin is still covered very nicely with that star-shaped thing. So that all fit really well. This part was the last part when I was putting in the truck, and it freaked me out a little bit. Wasn't too sure if it was gonna work, but just Dremeling all this thing off around is good, is gonna work. With the CVDs, maybe the CVDs clears the brake assembly, or the brake, if it does, then no problem. If it doesn't, then it's a problem. It's gonna be a problem anyways, because the shaft is back, so you guys with the CVDs would have to find a way to Dremel the metal end a little bit off, like you did with the plastic cup right there. Regardless, if you guys end up that far, you'll be able to figure something out. But yeah, this is the entire assembly. Hopefully my explanation is clear. I tried to do my best in clarifying it. So to summarize, what I did was, You purchase the 5193X single speed conversion kit for the T-Max 2.5. Use the center gear with the raw shaft that comes with it. You cut that shaft off a little bit, and then you buy a Mod 1 idler or Mod 1 pinion gear with a 5mm inside diameter. That's a 15 tooth, and then you guys, would have to shim your forward only conversion or the center diff. Forward only conversion obviously probably won't be, you won't have to deal with this issue here with cutting some plastic off, or I basically just put a flat piece of sandpaper here and just I guess move the particular cup around, and that's how I sanded it down. Pretty easy. So once you guys have that, got to go to Ace Hardware, get all these plastic nylon shims, and they're all 5mm inside diameter, and then get some nice washers and shim it all, and you guys should be good to go. If you guys are worried about gearing, this gearing is about right in between the gearing of first gear and second gear on a closed ratio Revo. So this is a 41 tooth and this is a 15 tooth. The second gear on the closed ratio is a 40 tooth here and a 16 tooth out here. So basically it's about the same. I mean, there's a very little difference. This would actually probably be a little bit higher, so it would accelerate more than the second speed, the second gear. So the second gear on the 2-speed has a little bit more top end. However, that's not an issue because this has massive top end with this on a track. Just use the the spur gear and the clutch bell and you'll be fine. This loses so much weight, that it's well worth it. 2.5 pulls this gearing no problem. Stock 2.5 no problem. I used 40 tooth spur gear, 15 tooth clutch bell. No issues at all. Has great bottom end, great top end. No lag whatsoever. Gets out of the hole just fine. I have plenty of videos to show that. If you're a track guy, you don't want top speed anyways. You want the best acceleration you can, and this is the way to go. You don't have any lag with second gear or anything like that. Yeah, so if the 2.5 can push this gearing, anything can. 2.5 runs great. I love those things. So yeah, 2.5 was 40 tooth and then 15 tooth clutch bell. My Pico, I was running a 38 tooth and then a 15 tooth, which was incredibly fast. That thing it hauls ass. What I'm gonna do is I got a 16 tooth clutch bell that runs bigger bearings, which is nice. So I'm gonna put that in here soon, and I'm still gonna run the 38 there, which is still very high gearing compared to a lot of people. A lot of people go to 36 down, and then I've seen up to 18 on these big engines, but that's maybe for top speed. I don't really care for top speed. The Pico has massive RPMs, which I like to use, which is perfect, So that's what the deal is on this. Keep looking back. If you guys want to subscribe, you're more than welcome to. I'll keep posting videos of my time at the track and things like that. What I come up with in the future. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this helped. Feel free to post any questions or comments or anything. I don't have any problems with that. I'm just trying to help out the community as much as possible, and like to improve my truck as I go, and this is a pretty big improvement. So take care, guys.